Welcome back to the series. This is An Alcoholic Explains. Today we're going to be talking about the science of alcohol addiction and how it affects the brain. So alcohol addiction, also known as alcohol use disorder, is a chronic disease characterized by an inability to control or stop drinking despite negative consequences. Affecting millions worldwide, alcohol addiction is not merely a result of poor will or moral failure. It is deeply rooted in the brain's complex neurochemical process. Understanding the science behind alcohol addiction can shed light on how it alters brain function, leading to compulsive drinking behaviors. This knowledge is crucial for developing effective treatments and support systems for those struggling with addiction. So let's quickly unpack this. First of all, alcoholism is known as a disorder. It's a chronic disease, and it's an inability to completely stop drinking. You cannot stop drinking on your own. A lot of people think that alcoholism is a disease that one chooses. It's a result of poor willpower or a moral failure. And we're being told that it actually is not. And as an alcoholic with 7 years of sobriety, as an alcoholic who struggled for many years to stop drinking, I can tell you that I tried very many times on my own willpower to stop drinking, and I just was not able to. And the more that alcohol progresses as a disease, the harder it is to stop drinking. We are also told in this description that it is crucial to understand that alcoholism alters brain function, which leads to compulsive drinking. That makes a lot of sense because once I started drinking, I wasn't a compulsive drinker. When I started drinking, I wasn't drinking, and getting the cravings to drink immediately. But towards the end of my drinking career, I could not go a day without thinking about drinking, without it being a compulsive thought, and without being completely obsessed with the idea of drinking. And I absolutely had to drink. I completely depended on it. So the neurobiology of alcohol addiction. Alcohol's primary effect on the brain begins with its interaction with neurotransmitters, the chemicals that transmit signals between nerve cells. When consumed, alcohol primarily affects the gamma-aminobutyric acid and glutamate systems. The GABA and glutamate systems. Alcohol enhances the effect of GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter, leading to sedative and calming effects. Simultaneously, it inhibits glutamate, an excitatory neurotransmitter, resulting in decreased brain activity and impaired cognitive functions. This dual action contributes to the characteristic relaxation and lowered inhibitions associated with alcohol consumption. So I'll read that again. GABA and glutamate systems. Alcohol enhances the effects of GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter, leading to sedative and calming effects. Simultaneously, it inhibits glutamate, an excitatory neurotransmitter, resulting in decreased brain activity and impaired cognitive function. This dual action contributes to the characteristic relaxation and lowered inhibitions associated with alcohol consumption. 2. Dopamine release. Alcohol also stimulates the release of dopamine in the brain's reward system, particularly in the nucleus accumbens. This release creates a sense of pleasure and euphoria, reinforcing the behavior and making the individual more likely to drink again. Over time, the brain adapts to these changes, leading to tolerance, needing more alcohol to achieve the same effects, and dependence, experiencing withdrawal symptoms without alcohol. 3. The brain structure changes. Chronic alcohol consumption can lead to structural changes in the brain, particularly in areas responsible for decision making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. The prefrontal cortex, which plays a critical role in rational thought and self-control, becomes impaired, making it difficult for individuals to resist the urge to drink. Additionally, the hippocampus, essential for memory and learning, can be damaged, leading to memory deficits and cognitive decline. Or genetic and environmental factors. Research suggests that genetic play a significant role in alcohol addiction, with certain genetic variations increasing susceptibility to the disease. Environmental factors such as stress, trauma, and exposure to alcohol at an early age also contribute to the risk of developing an addiction. These factors can interact with the brain's chemistry, making some individuals more prone to addiction than others. So that is a lot to unpack. Let's start with the GABA and glutamate systems, which lead to sedative and calming effects. I mean, this is essentially why I drank, because alcohol was my cure. It gave me a very relaxing, very calming, very sedative kind of state. And that is what I loved about alcohol. The problem with this is that it results in decreased brain activity and impaired cognitive functions. Another problem is the dopamine release. So it messes up with dopamine releases. And alcohol consumption also messes up with dopamine in the brain's reward system, particularly in the nucleus accumbens. So over time, the brain adapts to these changes, leading to tolerance. Oh boy, have I experienced that. The more I drank, the more I needed to keep that tolerance. In the beginning of my drinking, where I didn't need much to get tipsy, I didn't need much to get drunk. However, towards the end of my drinking, or I would say in the middle of my drinking, I really needed a whole lot of alcohol to get the same effect, to get buzzed, to get tipsy. And then towards the end of my drinking, there was no place for being tipsy. I just got immediately drunk. And there was no predicting the outcome of each time I picked up a drink. I couldn't tell if I was going to get tipsy. I couldn't tell if it was going to be a good drunk. I mean, there really never was a good drunk, but I couldn't tell if this was going to be a good episode. I just proceeded to get overly drunk, and that is not what I wanted. Most times I wanted to just get tipsy, hit the tipsy note, and then calm down very slowly, like the days when I was a teenager or when I was in college. But since my alcoholism had progressed, I was no longer capable of being able to replicate those results. My tolerance was also messed up, so I needed more alcohol to achieve the same effects. I was also increasingly dependent on alcohol, so I was experiencing withdrawal symptom if I did not have alcohol. I would get very sick if I did not drink. And I actually think this is where most drug addicts are made. Most drug addicts and most alcoholics, we are scared of the withdrawal symptoms. And that's why we continue to use. That's why we continue to drink. It is so painful to go through withdrawals. It's so uncomfortable. The sweats, the night terrors, the shakes, the feeling like you're out of your mind, feeling like you're out of your body, feeling like you have no control of your mind or your body. the cravings for the substance or the alcohol completely overpowers you. And then you're also physically sick on top of that. You're vomiting, you're diarrheaing, you can't keep food down. And all your senses just want and are obsessed with taking that drink or that substance. So withdrawals just feels absolutely horrible. It's like you're just fighting against your flesh and your mind and your conscious all at the same time. It's so painful. And I think that's where drug addicts get this thing called, chasing the dragon. Once you attempt to do drugs the first, second, third time, you only get the hit or the euphoria maybe the first 3 times. After that, you're just chasing the dragon. After that, you're taking the drug so that you don't get sick, so that you don't get withdrawals. At a certain point in my drinking, I was drinking not because it was fun, not because it was doing anything good for me, but because I didn't want to go through the withdrawals. I was basically chasing the dragon, but with booze. So it was really sad when I really didn't have any money and I didn't have anybody to buy me any more drinks, because the withdrawals were just so painful. My hangovers would be like 4 or 5 days. It took me a good month to get back to like normal, if I didn't drink in between then. And then the brain structure changes, obviously. The places of irrational thought, the self-control, the prefrontal cortex are affected, becomes impaired, making it difficult for individuals to resist the urge to drink. Yeah, that was very greatly affected. Mine was. There was no defense against the first drink. I could not defend myself against the first drink. Maybe when I was a kid in high school, I could say no to a drink. Maybe even the beginning days of college. But into my 20s and towards 25, when I was towards the end or the peak of my drinking career, I certainly could not say no to a drink, whether I wanted it or not. And genetic and environmental factors, of course. I'm the only alcoholic in my family, like in my nuclear family. So that's kind of weird, But yeah, I didn't learn this behavior from seeing anyone in my family. My dad doesn't drink, actually. My mom stopped drinking in 2008. But we did have alcohol inside the house. And that is one thing that I found while growing up that would help me to cope. This alcohol that you use for cooking wine. The cooking wine for making pasta sauces and, the brandies for making cakes, that type of thing. Those are the things that I used to like taking swigs of when I was quite young. And I found that they relieved my depression. When they say environmental factors such as exposure to alcohol at an early age also contribute to the risk of developing an addiction, this is not blaming anyone at all. It's just saying that kids who have depression or who are susceptible to alcoholism tend to look for solutions outside of themselves, and they are more likely to experiment. And if they find alcohol in the house, they are going to drink it without you knowing. You as parents, without you guys knowing. Even if you tell the kids, oh no, this is, big girl drinks. This is for adults. You're not supposed to drink this. This is not for children. Do you think a 10-year-old who is looking to escape from depression and all those things is going to listen? They're not. They're looking for medicine. That's what happened to me. And finally, the impact of alcohol addiction on the brain as a conclusion. So we have short-term effects. The short-term effects of alcohol consumption can lead to mood swings, impaired judgment, coordination problems, and memory blackouts. These effects occur due to immediate disruption of neurotransmitter activities and the brain's reward pathways. 2. Long-term effects. Prolonged alcohol abuse can result in permanent brain damage, such as Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, a disorder characterized by severe memory problems and confusion. Chronic alcohol use also increases the risk of developing mental health disorders, including depression and anxiety, due to its impact on brain chemistry and structure, neuroplasticity, and recovery. While the effects of alcohol addiction can be severe, the brain's neuroplasticity, which is its ability to reorganize and form new connections, offers hope for recovery. With sustained abstinence and proper treatment, individuals can experience significant improvement in brain function and mental health. Therapeutic interventions such as cognitive behavioral therapy and medication assisted treatment can support recovery by helping individuals rewire their brains' response to alcohol and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Yeah, short-term problems. I definitely had mood swings if I didn't drink. Definitely impaired judgment. Definitely coordination problems, can't walk properly. Memory blackouts. If you're experiencing blackouts as a drinker, just know this is not normal. Normal people who drink don't experience blackouts. If you're a blackout drinker, yeah, that's not normal drinking right there. I'm not saying that's alcoholic drinking, but you're not supposed to drink to the point that you black out. Okay? Long-term effects. Obviously, I had severe memory problems and confusion. I had severe. I can tell you that for a fact. I used to lose many hours, many days. I used to wake up very confused, almost leading towards like wet brain syndrome if I had continued drinking. And I see a lot of alcoholics we all have depression issues. A lot of us have depression issues. And it seems that we were using alcohol as the symptom. Alcohol was just a symptom. We were using alcohol to soothe the pain of depression or anxiety or whatever mental health disorder we had. So normally what happens is we developed a mental disorder at a very young age or something like that. And then we found alcohol to cope with that mental disorder. And then the alcoholism took over and it took front stage, and that is what the world judged us for. And then eventually maybe we died and people just remembered us as that alcoholic. But if we got sober, sometime into our recovery, the depression or the same issues that made us drink came back to the surface. And then we were able to address it sober. Like, oh my gosh, this is the reason I began drinking to begin with, the depression. So for me, it was depression. Like, depression started for me when I was 10. I don't know what happened. I don't know where it came from. It just happened, right? And it was a very suffocating, very heavy, very, life-threatening kind of depression. And when I was about 10 months sober, it came back. And I ended up in hospital, in and out of hospital, mental institutions, until like 3 years sober, until I stabilized on medication for antidepressant. So it took a while to diagnose the problem. And the problem was that I was bipolar type 2 with severe depression. Wow. That is what I had been trying to cure the whole time that I was drinking. So alcohol addiction is a complex disease deeply entwined with the brain's neurochemical process and structural changes. By altering neurotransmitter activities and affecting brain region responsible for reward, decision making, memory. Alcohol addiction leads to compulsive drinking behaviors and a host of cognitive and emotional problems. Understanding the science behind alcohol addiction is crucial for developing effective treatment strategies and support systems that address the root causes of the disorder. Through comprehensive treatment and support, individuals can overcome the challenges of addiction and achieve long-term sobriety or recovery, restoring both brain health and overall well-being. And I am here to attest to that. I am Waihiga. I am a recovering alcoholic. I am 7 years sober. And that is literally by the grace of God, plus a program of action. So if you identify with me, if you identify with anything I have spoken about, please get onto Google, look for a meeting, a 12-step program meeting for alcoholics. Get into that meeting and find your freedom today. Until the next episode, bye guys.